Hi everyone, we are here in London, UK. We want to speak about the health technology which you have in all these new products. And we have Senior Vice President Dr. Hon Pak with us. He's the head of digital health team at Samsung Electronics.
Thank you. Honored to be here. We continue to look at the 4 pillars of wellness: sleep, nutrition, activity, stress, and look at new biomarkers that we can collect. And for example, in the nutrition metabolic side, we have beta carotene measurement called the antioxidant index. We have AGES index that we produce, which is really a way of measuring metabolism to some degree, and it correlates with hemoglobin A1C. So we continue to look at different ways of looking at either the 4 specific pillars of sleep, nutrition, activity, mental health, or in the 5 therapeutic areas of cardio, metabolic, musculoskeletal, neurologic, women's health. These are the top 5 areas we're looking for additional biomarkers. But what's really happening over time is not just about how do you improve your sleep, how do you eat better. That we continue to do, but where really we're moving towards is how do you minimize the risk of these diseases that will impact your quality of life. So really our focus is the combination of these, how do they impact your risk for these diseases so we can increase your health span. And so a very concrete example is our heart health score that is being launched. And with that, it is a combination of sleep and activity, and using some validated instrument to reference, we actually can show that whether you work out, whether you sleep well, and how that corresponds to the risk of heart disease over time.
And with the use of AI technology, this gets easier and easier.
And scale, right.
Because it can recognize patterns much better. It can combine different data formats from different sensors together and give you more information.
So example is that we are not just looking at wearable data. We use the mobile device data. We also are collecting now SmartThings data. We're beginning to bring those in. We have PHR data in 3 countries, so we're bringing that in over time. And so what
patient health record data, right?
Yeah. So clinical data, diagnosis, treatment, medications, all this information. And we're creating a foundation model in order to understand patterns that we've never seen before. There was a recent study from Stanford, I believe, where they looked at PSG, so sleep data. When you go to the laboratory for the obstructive sleep apnea, they looked at their clinical history over a number of years, and they actually were able to find with statistical significance correlation of signals that actually projected their disease of XYZ, or even all-cause mortality as an example. And so I guess my point is we're not only collecting data from disparate sources or multimodal data, but we're also measuring context. And I think this is what's missing, because when I look at my behavior on a given day, my ability to accommodate for a micro change varies from time to time. When I'm too busy, when something's happening, I'm not able to make the change. And so this is your specialty. And so I'd love to kind of, think or get your thoughts, but we believe that people or they have windows of opportunities that open up certain times of their days, weeks, months. And when we know when that window opens, we think we have the ability, because they have the capacity and the motivation, we think we can move them. And then do it in a way that rewards their brain. And if we can do those things over time, even if we don't catch all the windows, we catch enough, we think that our probability of getting someone's behavior changed and sustained is our approach.
That is completely new with the help of AI, because we now know that we are not the same person all the time.
Right.
And some people are fitter in the morning. We know it's from the genes. It's the people, like we say, the early wakers, the skylark people. And some people actually get fit after lunch towards the evening. Ooh, suddenly I can work better, and they are really fit at night.
Right.
We call them the night owls. And it's to a certain degree genetic, although most people are hybrid, right? But knowing that would be really helpful, because you know, hey, for me, a miracle morning is not good. Actually, all my health data shows me my cortisol level, my stress level, my heart rate. It doesn't get better. Maybe it's better for me if I do yoga, stretching, meditation in the morning, and I do an evening run. It's better for me. And people would never know if they wouldn't have data about themselves. But actually, with Samsung Health and the new devices, you can tell them an overall pattern of how you act over the day, over weeks, when you're fit, when you're not, right?
Exactly.
So it means actually, with help of AI technology, with help of Samsung Health makes being healthy easier.
Exactly. Simpler and easier is what we're trying to do.
Is that the goal?
That's the goal. We believe that in the last mile of healthcare, behavioral change, or whether a person decides to do X, Y, Z, whether that's losing weight, exercising more, sleeping, these things require someone to change their behavior.
Right.
At the end of the day, it all comes down to, does the brain, right, help you or fight against you, right? And it depends on which day, and depending on the environment, you know, jet lag, all these things, right? Or at nighttime, you're tired, you open the refrigerator, there's something sweet, or there's a pizza from last night, right? And it's so convenient. You have to fight all of that. So sufficient to say, yes, we believe behavioral change is the core at this. So our bet is, and I think all the other big techs are moving in this direction, is let's get an AI-based assistant or a coach that knows you, meets you where you are, knows what you're going through during the day, and then nudge you and do different techniques to get you to do the things towards your goal. So I think that's happening now. We are moving in that direction. I think one of the things we have learned is that while there's a set program you can put someone on, whether it's you want to do a marathon or whatever, you can specify certain ways a normal person would, get trained up or get ready towards that goal of a marathon or whatever that health goal may be. It's really about knowing that 80% will have setbacks. How do you meet them? So I think one of the things that we're doing differently is about setbacks is a reality. How do you know when they're in a setback? How do you adjust the program to get this person back? And when do you know to just let them be? That's, I think, the art that we're trying to figure out. And that's where AI has the power to help us with that. And I think we're in that journey. It's necessary, but insufficient. We're social animals, right?
We have social brains.
Our DNA is meant to interact. And this is how the study not recently, but a study that was done longitudinally of men as they age from 20 to whatever, they were collecting all this information.
It's a Harvard happiness study
right.
from the 1930s,
So,
5 generations.
Right. So this goes to what you're saying is at age 50, the most predictive thing about happiness and health was social connections, right?
And even like when they get 70, 80, 90, it gets even more important.
Right, exactly. So I agree with you. So I'm not saying AI is the answer, period. If you look at our vision statement, we talk about connected care. When we say connected care, we say 3 things about connected care. Connecting device and the data and the insights that will be driven from that. Connecting people to each other, including doctors and family, and connecting the partners and ecosystem. That's how we define it. So our architecture for our software and hardware is about those 3 things. So absolutely agree that social isolation or social support has significant contribution to the dopamine releases that are necessary for our function. We know that.
For the motivational system.
Absolutely. So I'm responding to the question of how does AI and could we do that? That doesn't mean we don't take care of the core need around social connections, because I agree with you.
Samsung is not just relying on the really frontier models from the US or other partners, but you are also generating generative models yourself, smaller models for health, for the devices, right?
Yes. We have Samsung Research that is in collaboration with us to develop the next generation foundation models. And so we are definitely doing that. But what we're seeing is that it's not about one thing. So it's going to be hard. Yes, there are competition. I agree with you, but we think we have a game to play. I'm still evolving in my thinking around how to do it, but it's not a matter of use it or not use it. I don't think it's a choice. I think right now it's about how to use it most effectively without losing your humanity. I think critical thinking, relationships, those things are must. And if you start getting involved in that area with AI, I say stay away from those areas because this is who we are. And as long as that's protected, the rest, I think they'll figure it out.
Yeah. I have to be on your side again too. It's not the technology itself, it is how we use it. And for my children, I'd say if you have your answers first and AI can extend your thoughts and hypotheses, it's a good thing. Yeah. But if you become dependent, for example, without knowing how well you slept, without knowing what beautiful exercise you had, always just looking at your watch, was my exercise good? Was my sleep good? I mean, that would not be the healthy direction in a way. So as you said, be the master of your life and the captain of your mind. I think that is very important to stay autonomous, critically thinking, asking your own questions and having your own answers, and don't lose connections with others. I think on this page, although it was a personal conversation, we are on the same side. And it relieves me to know that the senior vice president of Samsung Health, pushing the digital health, is actually so concerned deeply about how to use AI and what makes us really healthy. It was a really interesting conversation. We don't know what the future will be there. We just hope the future will be happier and healthier.
Agreed. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for the conversation, and I hope we continue the conversation.
Sounds great. Thank you.